Prior to our roll call this evening, I'd like to indicate to anyone in the audience who would like to speak to any item on the agenda, or for that matter, any item not on the agenda, to kindly fill out a speaker request form. They're in the foyer, and please give that to our executive assistant in the back of the room, Ruth Scott. I have a number of folks who would like to speak tonight, which is wonderful, and I will only ask that when you do speak that you try to limit your remarks to 3 minutes or less. We have a full complement of City Council tonight. However, our City Clerk, Lynn Fazekas, informed me this afternoon that she came down feeling ill this morning, and so she's not going to be with us. I'm going to ask our Executive Assistant, Ruth Scott, who is in the back of the room, to please call the roll, please.
Morris.
Here.
Fanouken.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Perkins.
Here.
McAdams.
Here.
Verbic.
Here.
Favor.
Here.
Mayor Smith.
Here.
8 present.
Thank you. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Thank you. For those of you who may not have picked up an agenda while coming in, there are other agendas out in the foyer, so please feel free and we'll follow along as best we can. Okay, the first item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions to tonight's agenda? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Alderman Verbeek, seconded by Alderman Morris. Any discussion? Roll call.
Morris.
Yes.
Fanouken.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
McAdams.
Yes.
Verbic.
Yes.
Favor.
Yes.
Mayor Smith.
Yes.
8 yes.
The agenda is approved as printed. We have one person who would like to speak under public participation tonight, and that is Merle Domina. Merle, if you'd come to the podium, please, and lower that microphone and speak right into it. I understand you're representing 350 Kishwaukee this evening, right?
Right. Can you hear me, or is that better?
That's fine.
Okay. This is a certificate of appreciation to Mayor Jerry Smith. You have been such an inspiration to people concerned about climate, becoming a climate mayor and encouraging the Citizens Environmental Commission to think of some of the issues and to in our work with 350 Kishwaukee, and we were able to do a greenhouse gas survey, which I think, or inventory, which will probably be presenting at a meeting soon. So anyhow, I just want to thank you so much. I think you've been a good inspiration.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a real pleasure having been a climate mayor over the last several years, and through the leadership of our Environmental Commission and 350 Kishwaukee. I really appreciate all of the activity as it relates to the environment, whether that be greenhouse gas emissions. Merle alluded to that. Mayor-elect Barnes already has a copy of that, and we'll be working with our Environmental Commission in the years ahead as we continue to work together to protect our environment. And so Merle, thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. Now, for anyone else who would like to speak tonight, I'm going to put you on at the moment that we speak about the item on the agenda. Is that okay? Okay, good. Our next item on the agenda is presentations honoring elected officials leaving service in 2021. And our first honoree is our 2nd Ward Alderman, Bill Finucane, and City Manager Nicholas will make this presentation.
Jeremy, can I use this? Yeah, sure can.
You're on.
Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Well, thank you, Mayor. And may I approach Alderman Finucane? In behalf of the City of DeKalb and all of the employees of the City of DeKalb and the community of the City of DeKalb, we extend our sincere appreciation to you, Bill, for your dedication and service to us as Alderman of Ward 2 from May 6, 2013 to May 10th, 2021. And it's my pleasure as your city manager to present this to you.
Bill Finucane has been, for the last 8 years, my alderman. I live in his ward. And, Bill, are you going to give me an award for being a well-behaved?
Mr. Mayor, I never heard any complaints about you as a resident of the...
Yeah, the other thing, Bill. But I understand that the mayor is going to be presented an award tonight, and City Manager Nicholas.
Yes, you are. Mayor Smith, it is my pleasure in behalf of the City of DeKalb to extend our sincere appreciation to you for your dedication and service to the citizens of DeKalb from May 8th, 2017 to May 10th, 2021. And I give this to you in behalf of a grateful city.
Thank you, Bill. The good news is that Bill and I were just given an award. The bad news is that you're going to hear from us in just a few minutes as we make a few remarks about our experience here with the city, which I know I can speak for Bill, certainly myself. What a rewarding experience to serve the residents of the city of DeKalb. We have one other person who is not an elected official. The office of city clerk is an elected office. The person elected in 2017, Sue Herman, was forced to resign, and in 2018, Lynn Fazekas was appointed as our city clerk. Lynn has served the community and this city council quite a bit remotely here during the COVID outbreak. But I would like to read this. I don't know if Lynn is listening, and I know she wasn't feeling well tonight, but the City of DeKalb extends its appreciation to Lynn Fazekas for her dedication and service to the citizens of DeKalb, appointed city clerk August 14, 2018 to May 10, 2021. We have one more opportunity to present this to Lynn with her present, and that will be as we open our last meeting of our term at our next meeting on May 10th. Okay, moving right along, there are no appointments this evening, and our next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. It is this agenda that unless there are any items that any council member would like to be removed or added, we will take and approve the consent agenda in omnibus form. Are there any additions to tonight's consent agenda? Hearing none, let me read the items on the consent agenda. Number 1, minutes of the April 12, 2021 regular city council meeting. Number 2, accounts payable and payroll through April 26, 2021 in the amount of $2,073,454.88. Number 3, investment and bank balance summary through February 2021. Number 4, year-to-date revenues and expenditures through February 2021. And number 5, Freedom of Information Act, FOIA report, March 2021. I would entertain a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Alderman Perkins and seconded by Alderman Pfeiffer. Any discussion? Roll call.
Fanouken,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
8 yes.
Tonight's consent agenda is approved as printed. There are no public hearings tonight. There's one consideration, and this is the consideration of remarks by departing elected officials. I would like to turn the podium, or if you'd like to stay right here, our second ward Alderman Bill Fanouken, who is leaving after 8 years on the city council. Bill?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. You know, I thought I was more ready for this, but still, so many people to thank. Beginning with the, 5 people sit back there. My wife, my son, one of my daughters, 2 of the 3 grandkids who weren't even born when I was elected the first time. Lily, Jude. So, anyway, and then a whole lot of other people to thank. Just in my time here, 2 mayors, 16 other aldermen, 3 city managers, police, fire, streets, water, and the rest of the city staff. We all participated as a team. I'm not going to be up here and say, well, I did this, I did that. I was part of a team, and that's what makes DeKalb so good, that we all work together as a team. Excuse me. It's been a good 8 years, though 8 years is long enough. I think it's time for somebody else. Everybody in the public ought to take part in public service of one kind or another, whether it is as an elected official on one of our commissions. There's so many things that can be done. And so I'm, like I said, just, I don't want to say if I'm glad it's over. Maybe relieved is a better word, and lets me get on to do some other things that I enjoy doing. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks for all you've done for the residents of not only your ward, but the citizens of the city of DeKalb. We will make sure that Lynn Fazekas is given the opportunity to make any remarks that she'd like next week or at our next meeting. Wow, how 4 years have flashed by. While there are several new faces on the city council dais, a few remain from 2017. And I'd be remiss if I did not mention Dave Jacobson, Mike Marquardt, Joyce DePesia, Pat Fagan, and Kate Norrico, who served this community during the past 4 years. For the 7 of you, I appreciate the few minutes that you've accorded me tonight. My remarks will be brief, and they will be positive. As a matter of fact, what I will share with you are comments that you, as elected officials, should truly appreciate. The comments come from but a few of the hundreds of notes that I've received since being elected as your mayor. A couple residing in our first ward wrote, and I believe this, Carolyn, as we announced the task force initially for Annie-Glidden North. And they wrote, "So many great steps forward. Many people dream of a better future. Very few can make it happen." One longtime friend wrote shortly after our community wrestled with some of the social justice and racial unrest. I was at Hopkins Park on Thursday evening. The comments thrown at you made me sad, but I know that they came from very frustrated people, and I have faith in you that these turbulent times and you will eventually yield a better city. One of my favorites came from a girl who was celebrating her birthday, and her mother was working at Ferranda's and asked me to send her a greeting. And in doing so, you may recall this, I caught the wrath of one of our town's bloggers who embarrassed everyone in posting a picture and suggesting that my coffee group was violating COVID mandates. But what a nice card I got from this young lady who crafted this handmade card, complete with some pretty neat drawings. She wrote, "Thank you for signing your business card and for the really cool picture." You know, there was one Sunday afternoon where my wife and I discovered some pretty yellow daffodils in a vase on our front porch. And on it a note, "We can't thank you enough for the wonderful job you have done with COVID and bringing in great businesses to DeKalb. You and Bill Nicholas are awesome." One more note I'd like to share from a lady residing on the south side. She writes, "I remember telling you I was so happy that you were running for mayor. Now I want to say I'm very happy you don't plan to run again. You and Ging don't need the stress." Allow me to close by saying just how much I've appreciated working with a group of men and a couple of women over the years who have served as aldermen. I'm so proud to have worked alongside you and with a dedicated staff of city employees. Now, while I cannot possibly thank each and every staffer, I do want to make a special shout out to a pair of folks. To Executive Assistant Ruth Scott, you've made it easy for me to stay on top of things for 4 years. And to City Manager Bill Nicholas, what a champion we have for the city of DeKalb. This council is so fortunate, and this community is so fortunate to have you, Bill Nicholas, going forward. Now I'd like to leave you with a few edited thoughts originally attributed to Mother Teresa. You know, people are often unreasonable, irrational, and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you're honest and sincere, people may deceive you. Be honest and sincere anyway. The good you do today and even tonight will often be forgotten. But do good anyway. Give the best you have. It'll never be enough, but give your best anyway. To Alderman Morris, Alderman Fanouken, soon to be Alderman Larson, Alderman Smith, Alderman Perkins, Alderman McAdams, Alderman Verbeek, and soon to be our senior alderman, Tony Pfeiffer. I know that all of you will do your very best, and I thank you for the privilege of working alongside you over the last several years. Thank you.
Yeah, I will. While the mayor settles back in, he's asked me to read this. We're going to move on to resolutions. Item J1, Resolution 2021-034, authorizing the approval of a release and settlement agreement in the Elante McDowell lawsuit. And for this, we'll turn it over to City Manager Bill Nicholas.
Thank you, Councilmember Fanouken. As the background explains, about a month ago, parties to this particular litigation met with Magistrate Schneider in the U.S. District Court, and all parties came to an agreement, and the settlement is before the council tonight. The city also has the concurrence of our underwriter, who has also been a role player in this. This settlement is subject to your approval. The settlement is attached in the background to your agenda tonight and is also available to the public for review and comment. The city's position was that this was the best way to resolve a matter that might be litigated for a while more, and in that regard, we were supported by the insurer. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, I put this before you tonight for your approval.
Let's get this on the floor. I'd entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Alderman Pfeiffer, seconded by Alderman Verbeek. City Manager Nicholas has made his remarks. Any further comment? If not, roll call.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Verbeek,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Fanouken,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
8 yes.
Yes, thank you. That resolution is approved. Number 2, Resolution 2021-035, authorizing the approval of a settlement and release agreement in the Hunter Properties Ordinance violation citations. I'd first of all like a motion, a second to get that on the floor. We have several folks who would like to speak to this, and then, Bill, I'm going to turn it over to you for any remarks that you have. May I
So
have
moved.
a motion, please?
So moved.
Who seconded? You seconded? Okay. That was on a motion by Alderman Fanouken, seconded by Alderman McAdams. And again, I would like to urge anyone who would like to speak to this, and I do have your names, please go to the podium. If you're more comfortable taking off your mask, if you feel your mask is such that you cannot be understood or heard, you feel free to take that off, put it back on, obviously, after you're finished. So our first speaker tonight, and again, try to keep these comments to 3 minutes or less, Yolanda Arrington, 930 Greenbrier.
Hello, everyone. How's everybody doing tonight? I came out because I received some information that the property might be being closed down or whatever. And my main concern is about the fact that our living conditions. I live on the first floor at Greenbrier, as well as 3 of my other family members. And I have another family member that lives in another building. And I have about 20 grandkids in that building. I've tried everything I can to try to keep it clean in the area where I live at, but it is feces, urine, everything everywhere. I have no I don't even know what to do at this point. I've complained to Hunter Management a million times that it's a lot of drug uses up in there, a lot of drug selling. We moved out here for a new start, and I'm teaching my grandbabies the right way to live. Like, drugs is not the answer. Selling drugs, doing all these things are not the answer. I'm a very strong-minded grandmother, and I'm a mother of 10. And the stuff that is going on in that building is ridiculous. And I don't have anything against the owners, but I'm just saying that the way we live in there, things not being fixed the right way, people selling drugs, being in the hallway, people urinating and peeing in the hallway, garbage everywhere, that is unacceptable for anybody to live. And I'm just saying that because I'm a very clean person. And I like things in order. If you go on the first floor, our hallway is clean, it's decorated, but everything else is a mess. And it's very hard to tell the grandkids you can't go out and play because it's urine here, it's feces here, it's drug bags here, it's all this type of stuff going on out there. So I'm not here to bash Hunter, but I'm just speaking on our living conditions there. I'm not a person, I don't like to judge, but I like to be truthful about what I'm saying. And what I am saying is I never thought that the living conditions could be that way, and we've been there for a year. And we pay our rent on that first floor every month on time. I am a firm believer of paying my bills. And I don't know what else to do at this point. I'm looking for other places to move to, but I have 4 other families on there as well, and I have my son and his girl that lives in another building that's, oh my God. So I don't know what to say. I don't know if she needs help or what she needs, but I'm just saying the living conditions is not good there at all.
Thank you, Yolanda. Next, Henry Pfeiffer, 832 Ridge Drive.
Hi, how y'all doing?
Hi, man.
That's my mama. This is my problem. I came from Chicago. I wish I could get 5 minutes or 100 minutes, but I'm gonna make this real quick. I came from Chicago, like, you know how bad it is, and I moved on. Well, she persuaded me to move out to DeKalb. I actually thought it was nice until things just started to unfold, especially on 832. We just had a situation like, this is my girl, hey, beautiful. But our crib just flooded, not from our crib, it's through the building. We stay in a studio in the basement. It flooded one day, and we got up everything, destroyed everything. We went through lemonade insurance. So, okay, we put in the claim, but I asked the guy, do you want me to go back in the garbage to get the items that we need to show y'all that were destroyed? He said, no, that's okay. You got video, you got pictures. So 2 days later, it flooded again, but it's not just our crib. The whole first floor, like, really, it's coming. We're living in mold right now. We went to the doctor, we got letters to show that we ain't even supposed to even live in this crib right now because she got asthma. And it's like, our renter's insurance won't even help us because they saying, y'all don't have proof of what's coming out, but they told us it was feces water. And I ain't gonna say the word, my bad. But it was feces water that they said we supposed to keep the items, but until they came out. But this is like a week and a half later, they say you're supposed to keep the feces item. But I tried to explain to them, like, I asked you, did you want me to go back and get it out the garbage can? I was going to go get it back to keep it. I would have kept it till they came. But now we don't get no claim or nothing, which we paid for renter's insurance for a whole year. And now we don't get, now they canceled both claims, but I don't really understand what they do. I called the city. I called people, they just keep directing us, and I would have kept the feces items for a week and a half, like they wanted me to, because they said because they're trying to tell us now we don't get a claim because we threw it away when people supposed to came out. But I don't know who would keep items of feces and I don't want to say the word, but feces and stuff. It's sitting in your house, and we're in a studio apartment. Our whole, like, I have video, everything. Our whole studio is like, it's got water like this high, and it's now the walls is just getting puffy. And it's so bad that it's going to it's outside our door even worse. The hallway we went in, I got videos of the hallway bubbling up, and it's not from our fault. And we don't know what to do because.
Henry, you're at 3 minutes now. Could you try to wrap it up?
All right, I'm sorry. Please, y'all understand, I need help, and I know just trying to find help, but what should we do because we lost all our stuff. And floods. Like, it was one day, then 2 days after, it flooded again. And it's not from just our crib. Everybody's stuff was flooded. But y'all have a good day. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Paulina Lorando. You do not want to speak now? You're going to... She said what you did? Okay, great. Thank you. Victoria Oldham. 832 Ridge Drive.
I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous. This is my very first apartment, and the experience that I'm having with the apartment, it's not what I thought it was gonna be. You get waking up to gunshots almost every other night. We've had an occasion twice already where there's bullet holes that went above our window, and we're on the ground level, so, we don't really know what could have happened at that time, Now the flood already happened twice in the building, and our floors are buffering up. We have mold in our wall. We asked for a request for things to get fixed in the apartment, and they don't answer to you. They don't come. They don't try to help. You go to the office, it's just attitude. So I don't really know what else to do besides just keep trying, but it's like every time you do say something, nothing's being done. And then me just going to the hospital for the stuff that is going on in the house, it's causing more health conditions for not only me, but my boyfriend as well. So where we feel like we're getting sick, and it's hard to even stay in the apartment itself. The hallways are nasty, the doors aren't fixed. Anybody can go in, there's not a code where it's just not safe. So that's my concerns with all of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg Martin? Is that right, Martin? Yeah. Okay, good.
Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to express a couple of concerns and probably a couple of questions. I briefly understood the time frame that Hunter Douglas, I'm sorry, anybody that knows window treatments, I'm sorry. Hunter Properties, from what I understand is they were given a certain time frame to sell and remedy situations, is that correct? Okay.
Yeah.
On the short arm of that, how much time frame are they being allowed to rectify these situations prior to that?
I'll get to that in my comments.
Okay.
It's a good question.
Okay. The other question is in regards to, I think everybody is kind of on the same page that lives in these housings. I had a job decrease in job position and got to be empty nesters. We drove out to DeKalb because we liked the area. We wanted to be, I'm going to say, out in the country. I worked in, my wife both and I worked in Wheaton and Glen Ellen and Geneva, and we did not mind that nice long drive, seeing the horses and the cornfields or what have you on the way, or the way home after a stressful drive. But our concerns was, we lived in Naperville, and I'm paying half of what I did when I lived in Naperville, and it was by choice. I I wanted to be able to have a little bit more spending money to enjoy with my wife, vacation, travel, and we've been blessed to be able to do that. But our concerns is, going forward, is there anything that the city will recommend for us to get into different housing so we don't have to live with this beyond another lease? I don't know, some of you may have, I'm going to call it a college lease, to where you have to sign your lease 6 months prior to your lease. It's very difficult to plan a year and a half in advance financially to try and get someplace else. We've looked in other communities. I guess the good and bad is due to COVID. Well, we didn't work that much last year, so I can get into a lower income housing, but a lot of these places are not even responding right now in different communities. Yeah. So that's kind of one of my concern is, what do we do? Where do we go? Because I think all of us know this is not anything that will be rectified in 2 years. I don't see that happening at all. I currently, about a week ago, we came back from a short weekend trip, and in the ceiling, we had water leaks between the second and third floor. And I'm from Lincoln Towers. In the past, my wife hopped in the shower one morning, much to her surprise, to have a nice rat in the toilet, and another time in the bathtub. I never heard her scream so loud in her life. And currently, right now, about a week ago, one of the repair guys came in and said, yeah, I'll be back, I'll throw some new drywall up there. And he proceeded to have his helper poke a hole in here, and then another one, and leaves it this big. I'm like, great. Now I'm going to have more mice. I have to put mice traps all over around my perimeter of my apartment, and anybody that's had a mice knows that sucker's going to bake in about a few days, and it don't smell very promising.
You're right at 3 minutes now, Greg.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm hoping the city will somehow assist us in finding housing or getting this rectified. Thank you.
Thank you. Yolanda? Henry? Paulina? Victoria? And Greg, thank you for coming. This council has been wrestling with this problem for years now. I want City Manager Nicholas to speak to this. We're not going to probably be able to answer all the questions you have tonight, but believe me, what this council is going to be asked to approve tonight, after our City Manager Nicholas makes some brief remarks, hopefully will lead to some resolution. City Manager Nicholas.
Well, thank you, Mayor, and I join you in thanking the people who come out tonight and to speak. Sadly, these stories of indifference to the needs and the rights of tenants in Hunter properties are not new. In fact, we've been prosecuting a variety of claims, hundreds of claims literally, for the last 3 years. And one of the reasons we are at this point tonight is because we, like you, don't really believe that this pattern of inspection and writing fines and then eventually seeing that the fines aren't paid and taking them to court to enforce the city action, and sometimes taking months before we can get a court judgment, and then still the ignorance of those judgments and having to go back to court to enforce those judgments. All of that multiplied by many score has led us to this point. So just so you know, that's no comfort, but it certainly is a pattern that we're trying to break tonight. And how do we do that? Well, first of all, because of this, and I think you'll agree with this, our assumption is that this pattern that we've been in, press within the limits of our city departments for compliance, is not going to bring us the results we want. And what we'll need to see ultimately is a change in ownership. So I say settlement tonight because what I'm going to describe does not prevent the city from tomorrow bringing more actions for whatever you report. And we'll investigate, and we are fair-minded in this. If it's something that a tenant is broken, okay, but 99% of the time, that's not the case. We don't find that to be the case. So, we are, as I described in the background, hoping to do a number of things, and I'll lay this out very generally, and I invite John Donahue, our city attorney, who, along with his partner, Matthew Rose, have been working very hard at creating this proposed settlement for you tonight. So what this settlement requires, and by the way, to my knowledge, Hunter Properties has signed this settlement already. They have signed. Yes. Hunter will retain an independent, an arm's length relationship, so it's not somebody internal to their company, an independent commercial real estate broker who will help them sell these 4 particular properties. So what are the properties? Hunter Ridgebrook, and I will note there's a typo on the front of the background. If any of you had a chance to look at that, it should say 35 Ridge Drive, but it doesn't affect what's before you tonight. Hunter Trifrat, which I believe, I think you're in, Yolanda. Yep. Yeah, Greenbrier. And Lincoln Tower, and Hunter Hillcrest, between Annie-Glidden and Blackhawk. So those are the 4 properties, and they have 3.5 years to sell those. And if they don't, there's an escrow established of $150,000. So if, for instance, in 3.5 years they haven't sold any of them, that $150,000 is the city's property to be used for purposes that we feel are appropriate to what you've been describing here tonight. Or some lesser amount, depending on how many properties are sold. So this is a first of its kind, I think, in DeKalb. The settlement covers a lot of property, a lot of units, and we're basically fed up. Additionally, Hunter has to immediately undertake repairs and security measures that are recommended by our building department, our fire department, and police department. So if they don't do that, we're at it again. We're not saying we'll wait 3.5 years and see what happens. So it doesn't end, but we're saying in addition to that, on top of that, is an insistence and a settlement that they've signed off on, saying they will divest themselves of those 4 properties. And hopefully we can find a way to encourage a better landlord to come in and serve your needs as tenants. The city will also have an assignable option, which means that we can participate in, under certain conditions, in the selection of the final purchaser, provided that, let's say, we want to be the purchaser of one of those, or several of them, and in behalf of a third party. And so we can assign our option to that third party. Finally, we have all agreed, both the Hunter and the city, to release claims that we have. So what's prompted this and what prompted them to sign? I believe it's because there was a dollar amount that was hanging out there that they owed in unpaid fines and so forth. And so what we've done is say, all right, in exchange for that, we get all the rest of this. And they've signed off on that, and as I said earlier, this settlement does not impair our right to go after whatever comes up tomorrow or the next day. One of you was describing, for instance, there's issues almost on a weekly basis with sprinkler systems, with the heads going off and water in the hallways, and you're wondering, where's this water coming from? Things like, I mean, there are literally hundreds of these. So without any further ado, I just want to tell you that in behalf of all the city employees and police department, the building department in particular, and the fire department, who have been every week involved in trying to enforce the city's minimum codes. These are not maximum codes. I urge you to support this settlement.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Now, council discussion. Anyone want to make a comment on this? I think the resolution is fairly clear. Alderman Morris.
So sorry, my mask is really thick. I I just want to speak to this because we had so many people come out tonight, and I'm sensing concern from the community about what the next steps are. And so I guess I want to add to what the city manager has said by trying to clarify a little bit some of those concerns that I felt I was hearing tonight. So basically, what this agreement does is it gives the city the option to purchase. It also sets it up so that Hunter is required to sell these 4 properties, right? And to sell it to somebody that's not their best friend, basically. So this, we've been dealing with this since the minute I got on council, really. And we've been working on this agreement for a very long time. And to get to a place where both sides would actually agree. And the fact that Hunter has actually signed already, I think is really promising. So I'm encouraged by this. Of course, we always want more because it's like, but then we've got this escrow account, and that escrow account is supposed to be this account that if Hunter does not do as they have said they will do, they lose all that money. So theoretically, they've got a little more skin in the game that way. I think I know this was the best agreement that we could broker. We did our best. We worked our tails off trying to go back and forth, making something that we could at least accept. And I remember the last time we talked about this as a council, the city manager said, hey, what's your bottom line? And we were like, we're not going anywhere below, this amount that we're giving you for the escrow account, that's it. If they want any less than that, forget them. We're just going to go to court with this. But we know that, when you go to court, nobody gets what they want. We already don't have what we want, but this is the best of what we don't want.
Thank you, Alderman Morris. Any other comments? We have a motion on the floor, a second, and discussion. Roll call, please.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Fanouken,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes,
8 yes.
that resolution is approved.
Thank you.
Number 3, Resolution 2021-036, authorizing the transfer and assignment of an agreement from Illinois Convenience and Safety Corporation to View Chicago Transit, LLC, as it pertains to the placement of bus shelters along transit routes in DeKalb. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Alderman Verbic, seconded by Alderman Perkins. City Manager Nicholas.
Thank you, Mayor. As I noted in the background, and by the way, this is much different than the last item. There's been a change in the corporate ownership of the bus shelters, and that change is not noted in our contract, which was renewed back in 2014 for 10 years. And so a novation, which is a unique legal action, is needed, approved by you to make sure that our contract terms will be met by the new owner, and they have agreed to comply with all of the terms of the contract we had with ICSC.
Okay. Discussion. Roll call.
McAdams,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Fanouken,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes,
8 yes.
that resolution is approved. Number 4, Resolution 2021-037, authorizing a second amendment to the Transit Service Provider Agreement with TransDev Services Incorporated. I'd entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Alderman Smith, seconded by Alderman Morris. City Manager Nicholas.
Thank you, Mayor. There's some extensive background here, some charts and tables. The elementary problem is that the company TransDev, which is providing our fixed route services, has a dilemma in attracting qualified CDL drivers. And they're not alone. it's a dilemma that is facing other transit providers, and I want to thank Alderman Smith for his consultation in this matter. It's been very helpful in spreading my perspective across a broader regional dilemma. And so the bottom line is, because the drivers are so scarce, we are facing some issues in terms of service. We independently, thanks to Marcus Cox and our transit staff, have surveyed other urban transit systems in our area, and I noted which ones they were: Peoria, Rockford, Champaign, Moline, Decatur, Kankakee, and Waukesha, Wisconsin, which have riderships and routes that are a little closer to ours than in the larger metropolitan areas in the upper Midwest. And what we find, another issue, is that given the issue with the rider or the driver shortage, that the rate that's being paid to our local drivers is about almost $4 less per hour than the rates being paid to people in these surveyed transit areas. So what to do? Well, there's a private provider here. We could just say that's your problem. Well, we need to maintain the service. Interestingly, we discovered a way to, without diminishing service, in our COVID environment, and also with the fact that our ridership is down because Northern's enrollment is down. We were, say, sending 3 buses on the same route, just one after another, to pick up many, many people. Now we, in many cases, can send 1 bus. And so what we're proposing to do here is to trade service hours, another number of buses on the road, without diminishing the same timing and the same rider or the same bus availability, the adequate bus availability for people who are waiting at corners or waiting at the home student center or wherever they may be at the place of employment down on Fairview Drive. And it comes to a savings of about $250,000. And if that savings can be realized, we could modify our agreement with TransDev and allow them to float their rate per hour up and provide an incentive to hire new drivers. And if that doesn't work, we'll be back to you with some other proposal. But it's important to keep the system going, and we see this as a way to do it without diminishing the service, maintaining the same routes, and I'll stop there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Thank you for the much of the background information. I appreciate the input from Marcus Cox and Alderman Smith. And Alderman Smith, you have a comment.
Thank you to both of you for dealing with this. What we were facing is CDL drivers are a commodity. I mean, they are like gold, or maybe Bitcoin. Maybe we'll go a little even higher. And I didn't want to disrupt service, and I know Marcus has been working on expanding service and routes, especially in those areas. And when your time is driven towards making sure what you have is working and it's not working, we had to do something. Again, thank you, Marcus, for all your background on this. And I think we depend on these drivers. I mean, they're transporting our citizens, our kids around. So I think we want reliable service, and this is just the right way to go. So to help TransDev keep a solid staff so that we can venture into other areas for transportation. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Smith. Any further comments? Alderman Perkins.
To what degree has ridership decreased over planned or budgeted or forecasted?
I'll let Marcus hit the details on that.
With COVID and the pandemic, we saw a 54% reduction in ridership last year on the fixed route service, about 455,000 rides last year compared to almost 1 million in 2019. And we assume or imagine and project based upon what we're seeing that we're not going to see an astronomical return to the service. But we still want it to be available, and we know with NIU's 70% return to in-person classes in the fall, that what we're providing here would still be substantial and provide that needed service.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Smith?
One more quick follow-up. This has no effect on our city budget. This is our contract. Basically, we're passed through for the Federal Transit Authority. So these dollars are money that we get from the federal government to provide a transportation service. I just want to make sure everyone understands that this is not coming out of city coffers.
Right.
So, thank you.
Thank you for that.
Further conversation or further comments? If not, roll call, please.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Fanouken,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes,
8 yes.
that resolution is approved. Thank you. Number 5, Resolution 2021-038, authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with the Illinois Department of Transportation for cost sharing of intersection signalization from July 1, 2021 through June 30, 2031. I'd entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved by Alderman Morris, seconded by Alderman Favor. City Manager Nicholas.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an arrangement that has been in place for almost 20 years. The state of Illinois has, over the years, provided valuable funds to help us enhance the signals that may exist and to install signals maybe where they haven't existed before along state-marked routes. And in exchange, the deal has always been that when the lights burn out or when the wind comes and knocks some of the luminaires down, or not luminaires, or some of the signals down, we repair them. And in the balance of things, I think it's probably fair to both sides. We wouldn't be recommending an extension if we felt otherwise. So we hope you'll approve this.
Thank you. Comments? Roll call.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Fanouken,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
8 yes.
Thank you. That resolution is approved. Number 6, Resolution 2021-039, authorizing an architectural improvement program. That's an AIP economic incentive for Patrick McLean for the property at 201-203 East Locust Street in the amount of $1,850. Motion is.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Alderman Smith, seconded by Alderman Fanouken. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. Another property owner in the downtown area and within TIF 3 that is interested in fixing up some features of his property, and this property is located at 201-203 East Locust Street, so that would be the northeast corner of Locust and 2nd, North 2nd. And there are 3 different features that would be addressed by this application. He is looking to spend about $18,500. All of these 3 are what we would call deferred maintenance, which provides the smallest match of up to 10%, and that comes to a total of $1,850. And I believe that this particular owner has always been very meticulous about rental property, and is doing the same here, and we applaud that, and that's what this program is for. So I've recommended it, and I hope you will support it.
Discussion. Yeah, it's nice to see further refurbishment in downtown DeKalb, so that's great. That resolution needs a roll call. Ruth?
Morris,
Yes.
Fanouken,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
8 yes.
Thank you. That resolution is approved. Number 7, Resolution 2021-040, authorizing an engineering services agreement with KLM Engineering Services for coating inspection and construction engineering related to the painting and repair of the south water tower in an amount not to exceed $34,014. Motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Been moved by Alderman Verbeek, seconded by Alderman McAdams. City Manager Nicholas.
Well, thank you, Mayor. As you can see in the background, this particular task is the inspection of the work that will be done on our South Water Tower, and we felt it and got the sense that the council would agree that we ought to maybe look abroad a little, and we invited, we took a longer look at those engineering firms that are on our pre-engineering list, and we recommend KLM. They have a lot of experience in coating inspection, and as you will note, they are in particular certified in those two areas that were a matter of discussion before the council about 3 meetings ago. So we support their pricing, which is interestingly around half of what it would have been if we had not made the change. So.
Very good, yeah. I appreciate the input from Brian Favor and from you, Alderman Favor, on this. I know you had provided some input. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Fanouken,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
8 yes.
Thank you. That resolution is approved. We move along now to ordinances. There are no ordinances for second reading. We do have a couple for first reading this evening. The first one is ordinance 2021-016, amending Chapter 51, Traffic, Schedule C, Parking Prohibited, Section 18, no parking at any time except for residents, tow zone, and Schedule E, limited parking, subsection 10 minutes for the purpose of loading and unloading persons as it pertains to parking restrictions for portions of Barb Boulevard. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved by Alderman McAdams, seconded by Alderman Favor. Prior to turning this over to our city manager for his remarks, we have one resident of Barb Boulevard, Mike Tritle, who'd like to speak to this. Mike resides at 129 Barb Boulevard. Mike, how are you doing?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Manager Nicholas. Thank you, Scott McAdams, and special thanks to Scott Gill for all the work that he has put in on this. It was almost 2 years ago now. I put together a proposal for something that we had been living with, and it wasn't so bad with the high school, but when it transitioned to the middle school, the games were being played across the street from our houses. The parking and the disrespect for the neighborhood was phenomenal. Cars were parked up to 3 feet away from I've got a load of pictures here, but you don't need to see those. They were parked up to 3 feet away from the curb on both sides, and where the straw broke the camel's back was when a football player got injured and an ambulance needed to be called. The ambulance had a very difficult time getting down the street, and the fire truck, fortunately, there was not a car parked in front of the fire hydrant, so the fire truck was able to park there. But it is still an ongoing problem. It wasn't so much bad last year because of COVID, obviously, but the games are beginning again. And even tonight, I wanted to drive my fun car, which meant that I had to park my truck in the street. So I parked my truck in the street this morning so that I'd be sure to have a parking space for it. The ordinance is very well written. Like I said, I put a proposal together. You know, my boss has told me for years, I'm now retired, but my whole career, my boss has said, never come to me with a problem unless you have a solution. And the city staff, city manager, alderman, we've all worked together very hard to get this put together. So this is not to say that we're against having the sports across the street. The sounds of those kids having fun it melts my heart. And I'm not a sports fan, I'm a drag racer. But I've heard the same thing in the stands there too. So I understand where we're coming from. We all have our different, If there was one record in the jukebox, life would be pretty boring. So I would urge and ask, with all the work that's gone into this thing and the outcome, unlike you unfortunate people at Hunter Properties, man, my heart goes out to you guys. I had a flood in a garden apartment too when I was very young. It was not fun. I forgot what I was going to say. It doesn't matter. Anyway, it would be, please, with all the work that's gone into this thing, for the benefit of the kids, for the benefit of the whole sports program at the middle school, please, I'd recommend, urge you to pass it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. And appreciate your continued hard work and diligence on this area. City Manager Nicholas, please.
I want to thank Mike for your tenacity and your wisdom, and Alderman McAdams for your diligent support of a solution that will create a good basis for going forward. And also, and not least, I want to thank Zach Gill for a lot of time he's put in this and worked a lot with Mike and other neighbors to, some things were throwaways and some things were keepers. And so I appreciate your support, Mike. What's in your background, we're recommending on first reading only though, so that the maximum amount of time is available for people. There'll be some coverage of this, I imagine, in tomorrow's paper and on the news, and hopefully more people will take note of this and we'll bring it back to you. I will say that what we're trying to do here is to attack both of the things that Mike mentioned. One, to allow the residents to be able to enjoy their driveways, getting in and out of their driveways. I've seen those pictures, and I imagine they're not any better as things have come into play again, no pun intended. And I also am aware that what we're trying to do is provide a drop-off place so that teams, especially when there's, say, a baseball weekend and teams are eliminated, other teams come in, where are they going to drop off bats and bags and so forth that otherwise would have to be schlepped down from the middle school? And also, how do people who have mobility issues, how do they get to the fields if there isn't a way for a van to park and to let them out in a safe way? So I think we have addressed all those things, and I'm eager to hear what you think.
Prior to any council discussion, we do have one other person who has signed a speaker request form right at the last minute, Tom Riley, who is also a resident of Barb Boulevard. Tom? And then we'll have a council discussion.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Thomas Riley. I've lived on Barb Boulevard since December of 2002. I did reach out to my Alderman Scott McAdams about the speeding on Barb. There are no stop signs between 1st Street and 4th Street. And believe me, I sit out there and just watch them speed on by. And when school's in session or when kids are walking down the street, they sometimes don't walk all the way down to the school. They want to cut across and then zip through the parking lot. So it's a concern of mine. The DeKalb Police Department is dialed in. As soon as it comes available, they will be putting a sign up there that monitors the speeders. So I just hope that it gets taken care of. And as far as you're talking about the parking, I look about 3 or 4 times before I back out of my driveway because the speed, you could see them down the block. By the time you're backing out, they're right on top of you. So it's a concern of mine. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate the comments. Okay, a council discussion on this resolution. We have had a motion and a second. Anyone? Alderman Morris.
I just want to support this as a track mom. I've been dropping my son off there this past week, and my son has asked me to pick him up over by the high school, and I was like, why? And he's like, it's safer. And you can see there's an enormous parking lot with plenty of space that everyone could be parking in instead of the street, and it would be significantly safer for everyone. So,
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Again, it's been requested that we vote only on first reading. Roll call.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Yes.
Fanouken, Mayor Smith,
Yes.
8 yes.
That ordinance is approved on first reading. Number 2, ordinance 2021-017, amending Chapter 23, Unified Development Ordinance, Article 7.06, 8, fences, as it pertains to barbed wire fencing. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Alderman Favor, seconded by Alderman Morris. City Manager Nicholas, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The world of manufacturing has changed a lot in recent decades. It used to be no one would think about getting anywhere near an electrical power substation or a transformer station or a communications facility. It looks very quiet from the outside, but obviously there's important servers and so forth going on inside. And also even publicly owned property, wells and water towers and things like that. Over the years, we've allowed barbed wire to be put on fences around these installations. Two things are involved in this ordinance before you tonight, which the Planning and Zoning Commission has looked at and recommended to you unanimously. One is that we've heretofore only allowed those fences to be in the backyard and to some extent the side yards, but never in what's considered the front yard. But now, very often, they want to bring the fencing out so that they'd have a gate toward behind the sidewalk and within the buildable area, of course, not encroaching into setback areas, and that provides more security. Otherwise, if a person's bent on mischief, you invite them to come right up to your building and within maybe 10 feet of the building, and it creates a little bit more of a security issue. The other thing is that our barbed wire allowance has always been to have the arms holding the wire aiming in to the private part of the site, not outward toward the neighbors. And you wonder why that is, because it would be harder to get in if you had it leaning out. And all we can think, and we really don't know this for sure, but it seems logical that other administrations years ago and councils were concerned about those barbed wire, those hanging frames hanging over the neighbor's property. And then you have an issue, it's an encroachment if they're going to sell and so forth, and how do you be sure? So the Planning and Zoning Commission wrestled with both of these. They decided that within certain limited, for certain limited uses, which are identified here and in the ordinance, and that the barbed wire would be allowed also in front yards to a certain extent, but also that the barbed wire could go out as long as it's 2 feet back from the nearest property line. And usually those arms that stick out, they're about every 2 feet at about an 8-foot height, are sticking out about 1.5 feet, something like that. So there's a little bit of a cushion there, and based on just our anecdotal measuring around town. So we think that's fair. The Planning and Zoning Commission thought it was fair, and we recommend it to you.
This is being recommended to us by the Planning and Zoning Commission, which voted unanimously 5-0 on last Monday night. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Fanouken,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
8 yes.
Do we want to waive second reading and approve this tonight?
I'll move that we waive second reading and approve.
Thank you.
Second.
It's been moved by Alderman Fanouken, seconded by Alderman Morris, that we waive second reading and approve this tonight. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
McAdams,
Yes.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Fanouken,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
8 yes.
That ordinance is approved. We now move to reports and communications, allowing each and every one of our council members to make a report. We'll start with our alderman from the First Ward, Carolyn Morris.
I just want to thank Mayor Jerry Smith and Second Ward Alderman Bill Fanouken for your service to this community. Additionally, I just want to say to all the residents who came out, if you have further questions, please feel free to stand by and talk to me afterward.
Thank you, Alderman Morris. Alderman Fanouken.
Thank you. Couple of things I'd like to say. Incoming council, mayor, and re-elected. Congratulations, first of all. But then read your provided material and do some research on your own. It's important that you do the best you can in providing service to your ward and the entire city. Secondly, Give DeKalb County is next week on Thursday, May 6th. There's 131 organizations and funds that you can use your support. Please feel free to reach out and do that as best you can. And then, for the last time, please get your vaccinations, keep your social distance, and wear your mask. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Fanouken. Alderman Tracy Smith from our 3rd Ward.
I'll go along with Alderman Morris, and thank you for Alderman Fanouken and Mayor for all your support and your input over these years. Thank you again.
Thank you. Alderman Perkins, who should be congratulated, he won by 3 votes in our 4th Ward. As some of you may recall, I had the pleasure of appointing Greg after Pat Fagan left the 4th Ward. And Greg, you've done a great job here, and I know you will continue to be a part of a great team here on this city council. Do you have any report?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I have a couple points, and to start with, I'm a numbers guy. One of the numbers I'd like to talk about tonight is 593. That's the number of people who voted in the election in my ward. So 298 to 295, it's pretty close. So every vote truly does count. I want to thank everyone for coming out to vote, even the 295. You know, you're valuable as well. Your votes count too. I'll still listen to you as well. But then also I'd like to thank you, Mayor, for your service. You, Bill, for yours as well. It's invaluable and it's much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome. Alderman McAdams, 5th Ward.
I also want to echo the same things that the other aldermen have said. Alderman Fanouken was instrumental in giving me good direction when I first got on council and helping me to navigate all the different things that needed to be navigated. There's no training for this. You just show up and you work. And Alderman Fanouken provided me with great wisdom and insight. And I'll always appreciate that. And we're both Sox fans. So we have that in common as well. And Mayor Smith is another one that when I came in, he had nothing but positive things to point me in, and he has been very instrumental in helping me with constituent services issues. I work during the day, and so I'm not always able to respond to things, and I often will log onto my email at lunchtime and find out that the mayor has solved the 5th Ward problem while I was at work. So I want to just remind everybody that he's given tremendous to the amounts to the city, and both of these gentlemen deserve our respect.
Thank you, Alderman McAdams. Alderman Verbeek, 6th Ward.
Mayor Smith, Alderman Fanouken, thank you for everything. It's been just an absolute joy working with both of you, and wish you all the best in your future adventures. Also to announce our Ward 6 meeting on Wednesday, May 12th. From 6 o'clock until 7:30 at police headquarters in the community room. Ward 6 will have an opportunity to meet our new police chief, David Byrd, and to discuss items going on in Ward 6, including Lincoln Tower that we discussed a little bit tonight about. So for those that did not watch this meeting or attend, we'll have an update for them. So thank you for coming out.
Thank you, Mike. Tony Favor, our 7th Ward Alderman.
Mayor Smith, Alderman Fanouken, it's been a pleasure getting to know you over the past several years. I've enjoyed getting to meet your spouses as well, and learning about developing a relationship with you as well. Personally, it's been an honor to serve with you both, and I appreciate your teaching and your guidance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. For those of you who know Gary Mullis, a longtime DeKalb resident, Gary wrote a note here, and, you know, I like the way Gary slips things in when he congratulates me. He says, "You will be missed. You've been a good job as mayor. I might see you at the Elwood House music concert or at my toy drive show the first Sunday in December." So we get a pre-notice from Gary Mullis that he's going to have his toy show in December. Gary also has a country western show, and but he's quite a guy and quite a resident. Next week, we will have the pleasure of swearing in Barb Larson. Barb, stand up. This is our new 2nd Ward Alderman. Barb will be sworn in as our 2nd Ward Alderman. Greg Perkins will be sworn in as he remains on the City Council in our 4th Ward. Mike Verbeek, you will be sworn in as our 6th Ward Alderman once again. We will swear in Sasha Cohen, who was elected as our City Clerk next week. And I will be turning the gavel after I gavel us in next week, or the next meeting. Immediately to our new mayor-elect. I'd like him to stand up. This is Cohen Barnes. We have no executive session tonight. And again, I just want to reiterate, I want to thank you so much. You know, I've had over, I guess with special meetings and all that, over 100 city council meetings. The good Lord has blessed me. I've never missed one because of health. I did miss one because I attended a convention that my wife was at in Florida several years ago, and I turned the meeting over to Dave Jacobson, who was our 1st Ward Alderman, and Dave said, "I never want to do that again." So, but it's been a real blessing, and I appreciate all of the support so many have provided. My alderman, Bill Fanouken, would like to move us out of
Jerry,
adjournment.
Before I do that, I think City Manager Nicholas has
Yes.
something he'd like to
I
say.
just wanted to make a report, Mayor, if I may.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's just an attaboy to, or actually kudos to trash squirrels. And there was a nice article on Friday in the Daily Chronicle about their work in the last couple of months. I think it's extraordinary. Some 300 people are out on weekends
Yeah, great.
and evenings and so forth. And I just want to applaud their work. This is something that's needed, especially in the spring. There's been a lot of debris that blew around in the winter, and it's been uncovered now that the ice is melted. And the winds are up, and we keep getting it. And in addition, there are other groups that are doing the same around town, and one in particular that I saw on Saturday morning, very unselfishly out walking the railroad tracks, was a leadership group that is under the auspices of the DeKalb Chamber of Commerce. So thanks to everybody who's taken time to pick up that extra piece of paper or plastic and properly dispose of it. Thank you.
Just a great representation from folks in that area and our cities. Bill Nicholas was cutting a couple of pigs that they roasted, and Sean Fraser from Northern was there, and Ernell Brown from Sir Donald Foundation. It was just really, really good. And our new police chief, David Bird, was there, and so it was just a great event. And before I let Bill Fanouken move to adjourn, when I neglected you there, City Manager Nicholas, I don't want anybody here to read anything into that, okay? Bill and I have had a great partnership over the last 4 years, and I appreciate it. Alderman Fanouken.
Thank you. Move to adjourn. Let me do that again. Move to adjourn.
Second.
Do I have a second? Okay,
They passed the baton.
I said second.
yeah, second?
Yeah.
Okay. Alderman Fanouken moved, Alderman Favor seconded that we adjourn. Any discussion? Roll call.
Verbic,
Yes.
Favor,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Fanouken,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
McAdams,
Yes.
Mayor Smith?
Yes.
8 yes.
Thank you for all attending tonight, and we are adjourned.
Mayor Alderman.
I definitely have. Yeah, well, right now during COVID, you have to do a roll call for everything until they lift those. But, you know, I will probably always be here, so if you ever.
Would you hand me that blue thing?
Yep, yep.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.